Ladies and gentlemen, when I think about culture building and I think about team building and collaborators and people that are almost have this innate ability to just bring people into their lives in a very successful way, the person that I have on the screen with me is somebody that first comes to my mind. I have Jay Mora from the DMV area on the podcast with me. It's been a long time coming. Jay, how are you, my brother?
I am living the dream, brother. How are you?
I'm doing fantastic, man. I'm doing fantastic. So Jay, you're in the DMV area. Are you in Washington, D.C., or where are you in the area?
So I currently live in Maryland,
Okay.
and I live probably about 25 minutes from the border of DC.
Okay. And what is your main market that you do real estate in?
I do all my deals in North Carolina.
Awesome. Awesome. So from the DMV doing deals in North Carolina, and we're gonna unravel everything in this guy's business. From the mental standpoint, from to the business standpoint, and just everything in between. It's gonna be awesome. So before we get into all the nitty-gritty and all the things that are going on in your life currently, I want you to take us back. What was Jay doing before we got into wholesaling, before we got into real estate, and what was the progression to get to, I guess, your starting point?
That's a great question. Actually, before real estate, before wholesaling, before all that, I was actually a nurse. I went to school for nursing, and it's a crazy story that I'm going to share with you how I got from nursing to real estate. I was actually in a car accident when I was 19 years old. I broke all of my both my hips. I broke my femur, my knees. I was hit by a drunk driver. So I'm 19 years old and in a full body cast. I was hit by a drunk driver, actually going to work as a nurse. I was in my scrubs. And so I was in the hospital for 2 months, 2 to 3 months, recovering. I had to get blood transfusions. And yeah, it's definitely been a crazy ride. But during that transition, I wasn't able to work because of mobility issues. And one thing that I do have going for me is my ability to talk to people, to connect on a deeper level. And that's really why I started doing nursing, is because I like people. I love building relationships and really good with talking with, getting down on a one-to-one level, real level with people. And so I was like, okay, what else can I do? And not going to need me to be mobile. So sales. Actually, right after nursing, after getting out of the hospital, and I was in a wheelchair for going on maybe about a year and a half, using a walker for another year, walking like a penguin for 2 to 3 years after that. I would say I'd fully recovered maybe in 2019, fully. I still have pain here and there. I'm like the Tin Man. I wake up and it's hard to put my socks on in the mornings, but hey, I'm here. Do a little bit of oil, WD-40, and I'm good to go. So yeah, so from nursing, I got into car sales. I was the only thing I could, being in a wheelchair and trying to figure out how to make an income. So I started doing car sales, and I started doing well in car sales, started doing good amount of volume. And a real estate investor, German guy down in South Florida. This was in Florida, Naples, Florida. He gave me his card and he's like, Jay, you would be really good in real estate. Really good. And I paid no mind to the guy. He bought a few Escalades from me. Turns out he was doing like Turo before it was Turo, so some type of exotic rentals in Vegas. So yeah, I'd pay no mind to it. Maybe like 6 or 7 months later, that same guy came back to me, bought a couple more vehicles for me. He's like, Jay, why haven't you gotten into real estate? And this is the second time, right? The follow-up.
Yeah.
And I started learning about real estate, got my real estate license with a focus on waterfront properties in Naples, Florida. And from there, that's how it took off. Started just doing traditional real estate, and that's all I knew.
Awesome. So you were doing this in South Florida and Naples. You finally became a real estate agent from I guess the peer pressure from one of your
Peer
clients
pressure.
yeah, that was buying a bunch of Escalades from you. And so how was being a realtor at that time? What was real estate like at that time? What year was this, by the way?
This was in 20, the end. So this was 2015.
Okay.
Yeah, I started studying for my license in 2014, at the end of 2014, and I got my license right at the end of it. And so 2015, I started traditional sales.
And how was being a real estate agent at that time? And what made you what was that like? And then talk to us about how you made your move up north to the DMV area and continued your practice there.
Yeah, so Naples at that time, back in 2016, it was still more of a snowbird territory, right? People from up north would come down half of the year, and then half of the year it was dead. Now it's changed. More people are staying there, more people are doing remote. COVID definitely got people thinking, I can just do any business anywhere. And so a lot of remote jobs, and so people are just staying in Naples nowadays. But back in 2015 timeframe, it was that snowbird kind of like half good business and half just dead. It's a ghost town.
Mm.
And real estate is definitely always been very strong there and is growing rapidly. Like homes back in 2015, 2016 selling at 180,000 are now 600,000. So the market has definitely changed since then. So it's been a great transition from the car sales to the traditional real estate. And now we're gonna talk more about the investing side of the business. But yeah, that's how I came about.
And what made you stick with real estate? Because you were doing car sales, you were doing really well at it. You heard the idea of getting into real estate because you were told that you could be very good at it. Obviously, that was true. But what made you really stick with it as opposed to since you first decided to get into sales in general, right? And there's lots of different types of sales, right? You first got into car sales, right? What made you want to keep all the what made you want to focus on real estate sales as opposed to maybe going and finding another avenue that you may have enjoyed more or just wanted to try something new? Like what made you stay in real estate?
Well, with real estate, there's a lot of relationship building and it's connections that tend to stay for the long term. With cars, is you sell a car to somebody and that's it. That's just a one time thing. They might come back, being referred to you, but it's not an asset that's going to appreciate. The moment that car gets off the lot, you're half the price, right? At least $10,000 off the price. So it's not an asset that's going to appreciate. In real estate, from statistics, has always appreciated. There's different times, different cycles, but real estate is always a very stable asset and an asset that you can leverage for sure.
Awesome. Awesome. And so talk to us about how you got yourself to the Maryland area. I believe you were doing real estate there too, correct?
Yeah, so in Maryland, I was doing a lot of referral business just because I know a lot of people up here in Maryland, and my father lives up here. And my father, he's a handyman. So I told my dad, I was like, man, we could definitely maximize this. So I went and started. I came up here, lived with my dad for a while, and we just started doing a fix and flip business together. Started off as just a regular handyman business, and then we started doing more kitchens and baths, and that's really where we focused on. And I started getting more involved in the investment side of things. So moving forward, how I got my first fix and flip, I actually bought it from a wholesaler. So the wholesaler sent me a deal. I was an agent. And at that time, I was still a traditional agent. And let me tell you, wholesalers, I hated them. I thought they were just out to steal my seller's equity, and they were just money hungry, and I just didn't understand the investing side of the business until I took on my first flip. So until I started really understanding the numbers, and it wasn't a great one, right? The wholesaler, I did want to emphasize on how I got involved on the wholesale side of the business. The wholesaler made $85,000 on the HUD. After my dad and I did the rehab and everything was said and done, we probably made like 6,500, maybe 7,000. So definitely wasn't a home run, but we weren't in the red. So that's how I got involved in the real estate side of the business. And so I'm like, okay, how do I maximize? How do I do what the wholesaler did and bring in more deals to myself?
Mhm.
And that's what I started doing and learning more about it. And eventually I just left the traditional side of the business completely.
And what year was this?
This was 2019.
2019. Okay, so in 2019, you did your first flip, you and your dad, and then you kind of saw what was happening behind the scenes with wholesaling and how the numbers really work when you buy a deal. Because I have this conversation with realtors all the time, right? Or just people that bring me opportunities. They'll send me a deal. It's like, oh yeah, this is in a great area, great location, but it's like, $10,000 off the ARV,
Yeah.
right? And it's like, sorry, I can't pay this much. I need it real estate around like this place. It was like, oh, you're just stealing equity. You're just looking for giving lowball offers. Like, listen, okay, you try and fix it, flip a property, because we flip properties in our own market too. You buy this, put $50,000 to rehab it, and see how well it turns out for you, right? And I see that happen a lot. I'm not saying this is as a knock towards realtors. I understand where they're coming from, right? They have their sellers' best interest in hand. They want to get the most amount for their sellers. I totally understand it. But at the same time, when you are a realtor, or when you just in real estate in general, it is super helpful to have that insight onto what actually happens during a flip, which doing one as your very first one will definitely give you that insight. So just a very a broad question, kind of a deep one as well. And this kind of can go back to when you first got started and even today, right? But as entrepreneurs, as business owners, right, we all have like this sense of urgency when we first get started, right? Whether it's just to make our very first dollar, just to see proof of concept, or there may be something that's more personal, something more deep, whether that be something deep within ourselves or something within our families or our surroundings that's just forcing us to make a change, to make that to make this dream, this vision that we have in starting this business a reality. Let me ask you, when you first got started, let's just say in the traditional side, and even on the investing side, I mean, you tell me, where you felt this the hardest. What was that sense of urgency for you in your life that really propelled you to the success that you have today?
Well, I have definitely responsibilities. I have 5 kids, and I will attest that having kids will propel you into thinking differently. So I had to figure out, okay, how do I go into the next level? How do I take care of my family and allow us to be financially stable? And then how do I work towards being financially free? So definitely my family really made a big impact on that decision, and mindset, right? This is one of those businesses where HGTV makes it look like it's super simple, super sexy of a business where nothing goes wrong, and that's all we see, right? But at the end of the day, that's just reality TV, and it's not the true reality of what actually goes on behind the scenes.
When you say mindset, what do you mean as far as like what's going on in your head when you were first becoming a realtor and first starting to wholesale? Like what was the mindset like at the time?
Yeah, so I was definitely not a unicorn agent. So I had a very limited belief of what real estate should be. And I only thought in numbers of 3 and 6s, right?
Yeah.
The listing and the buyer commission. And that's the only thing I thought about. But when I started taking on my first rehab and multiple rehabs, it was like, okay, holding costs, hard money costs, points. There were so many things you have to factor in. The oops factor, because that happens a lot. No matter how good the rehab is on paper, there's always something that goes not according to what that paper says. So definitely you have to just understand that there's going to be factors that you have to take into account.
Yeah, love that. So talk to us about so you finished this flip, right? You your dad, right? You guys were in the black, right? You guys didn't lose money.
Yep.
What led you, or tell us about your first actual wholesale deal? How did that happen?
Yeah, so I was an agent still, and I added my fee on top of another wholesaler's deal to one of my investors that I ended up partnering up and doing. I did the kitchen for that particular rehab, and that was my first wholesale deal without me understanding it was a wholesale deal because it was assigned to me and then I reassigned it to the buyer.
Mm.
So it was a true wholesale deal, but I didn't start wholesaling till March of last year when I joined TTP, great mentorship, and that's when I started understanding. Wow, there's a whole different side of this business that I could leverage. And so I went from, most people start off wholesaling and then go into rehabs. Lately it's been the other way around for me. Like I'm like, look, I'm going back to the roots. I'm going back to wholesaling just because I could leverage my time. I could be doing this from anywhere. Like I said, I'm doing business in North Carolina. I haven't seen a property in North Carolina at all. I think one time I went to go and take a look at a property. I drove 6.5 hours from Maryland to go see it, and then I ended up never getting the property. And so I just used, I leveraged my network, and now I do everything virtually from my office.
And why North Carolina? Why did you decide to make that your market?
Well, this market here that I'm in, it's a really competitive market, and this market, there's just enough to be a rehabber in this market. Trying to add your fee on top as a wholesaler makes it unscalable, right? If I want to do 5, 10, 15, 20 deals a month, and the average amount of wholesale transactions you could possibly make here, I was stuck at like 2 deals a month. And the moment I chose a market that was, first of all, more landlord friendly, I'm looking to hold more in North Carolina, and also the taxes. Here I live in Montgomery County, and the taxes to buy properties here are super high. And so I had to take into account also, what does the numbers look like? What do I want to make in cash flow? And how can I scale my business? And also the fact that I did everything remotely now allowed me to be able to be more focused.
Right. It allows you to focus on actually making it a business, right? Because if you're not, when you're not involved in the driving to go look at the property or meeting contractors or meeting buyers, right? It forces you to put systems in place to where it doesn't require you as a physical person to go out and do those things.
Yeah, and it's really funny because last month I actually went to see a property in Maryland, and I spent the entire day driving up about an hour and some change up in Hagerstown to go take a look at the property, and did a thorough walkthrough, did my own estimate on it, and my entire business, thank goodness I have people in play now for that, my entire business just kind of like, I stepped away from it completely. And so I wasn't leveraging what I was doing in North Carolina, which was just maybe I can have somebody go out there, take photos for me, give me an estimate, put a lockbox on the property. And I just the moment I said, you know what, I'm just gonna go drive to Hagerstown, an hour up north, it limited me a lot.
Yeah.
Because I just spent time driving.
We had the same thing, not meaning to cut you off, but we had the same thing. So when we were doing direct to seller, we were doing everything in person, right? We're driving an hour to an appointment, right? When we didn't even have a property under contract, to meet with the seller, talk with them, right? And try and get this deal done on paper in person. And that worked. And a lot of people talk about doing that. And I'm not saying that that's a bad way to do it, but I will tell you, Jay, we switched to a more of a phone sales process to where everything was getting locked up over the phones. And man, our time spent on driving to appointments was essentially zero at the time. But not before we got under contract at least. And our conversion rate just went way up because to your point, right? The point that we made before, when you're not physically having to do all these roles, it gives you the headspace, right? And the time to figure out, okay, listen, I'm not going to get involved in this because I physically can't. I live 6 hours away. How can I get this done, right? And the drive is still there, right? You're still going to figure out a way, right? You hire a runner, right? You leverage your network, and sure, you'll pay $50 up front, to get it done. But what is that versus your amount of time that you can, what you can make in per hour of your time, right? If you have to pay $50 for somebody to go and drive a property for you and get pictures for you, okay, well let's just imagine in your wholesale business you're making $150 an hour, right? That's not unrealistic at all. If you're working 60, 70 hours a week even, right? You can still average out to make that much. you're still in a net positive just by paying that person, and you save that time. So
That's
I agree with you.
Yeah, leverage your time and only do the 20% of things that make 80% of the money.
Yeah.
I've been reading and reread this book, and I'm almost done with it, is the 4 Hour Work Week.
Yeah.
And simple things. Get rid of the stuff that are limiting your time. Get rid of the stuff that you can delegate, and focus only on 20% of the things that make you 80% of the money. So the Pareto principle.
Right. Awesome. Very well said. So from the time you got started last March, right, till today, what has been your biggest learning lesson / failure?
Biggest learning lesson is to focus on the number one real estate that you have, which is what's between your ears. That is the greatest piece of real estate you could ever leverage. So your mindset, right? Give yourself positive affirmations. Speak as if you already have obtained what your goals are, and write those goals down. I write my goals down every single day, and I continuously just propel myself to a mindset of, yes, this is, I am thankful because I closed 10 deals this month. I am thankful because I made $100,000 in assignment this month, right? Your subconscious mind can only accept it. It cannot reject it. And with that being said, a mindset is one of those things that are just going to help you just get into a better place. Just personally, also gratitude. When you're grateful, it's hard to be mad. It's hard to be in a bad vibration when you're grateful for something. And so that's what I will say is the thing that's helped me scale more and allowed me to get more deals, just because I'm so grateful every single day. And I write down my goals and I read them to myself and I believe them.
All right. And you find what you're looking for, right? That's what really helps you scale, right? People always say, oh, well, you're just putting that stuff into your head. That's not actually going to make you money. Well, it's like, brother, if you tune your mind to something, you're going to look for it, right? If you're in a room and you tell yourself, hey, find everything in a room that's red, you're going to find everything in that room that's red, right? But you're going to miss out on what's blue. You're going to miss out on what's green, right? Because you're not in tune to it. You don't want to look for it. Whereas if you are grateful that, you put these affirmations in your subconscious mind, whatever it is that you may, it may be that you want, right? As an individual, everybody wants something different. You're going to start to look for it and you're going to start to find it. It will come to you if you believe that it's already yours.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
And you just got to put yourself in that mindset. Andrew Carnegie said something that really impacted me. So any idea that is held in the mind that is either feared or revered will at once begin to clothe itself into its physical form.
I love that.
Incredible. And it's true.
Yeah.
It's true. You start thinking about something, you start seeing it. For example, I drive a Lexus IS 250 and I see them everywhere. And it's a matter of just being involved. It'll start attracting to you.
And what made you, were you always that type of person that would listen to mindset stuff? Like how did you get your start into actually like doing like a practice of taking that time for yourself to develop the mind?
So I was very negative. I was in a very bad place in my life, and I was just really really negative. A lot of self-doubt, and that was just bringing more of it into my life. And I saw this old guy on YouTube, Bob Proctor.
Yeah.
And I started studying it, and I joined the mentorship, and I started just investing more I don't read real estate books. I read books on mindset, because real estate, no two transactions are the same. But one thing is for sure, more repetitive positive fuel to your mind, it'll just help you propel more and more to that goal that you wrote down.
Mhm.
And so that's where I started learning about mindset. So Bob Proctor, Joe Dispenza, meditation, prayer, all that factored into play.
I love that. And so you have a daily, I see you post on Instagram all the time. You have a daily practice of writing down like at 3 o'clock in the morning. This guy wakes up super early. I could never. I am not a morning person like that. So I give you props for that. like what you're grateful for, right? Just like in just writing down what it is that you want to attract into your life, and then also just listening to like what are you listening to these days?
So writing down the top 10 things that you were grateful for, even if you haven't accomplished it, write it as if it's already been accomplished every single day. Also, send love to 3 people that have hurt you or caused you some type of pain. That's the hardest thing to do because we hold grudges. And once you start doing that, you're just liberated. Like
Yeah.
like sending love to someone who's caused you harm, pain in your life, that completely changed changed the way I think.
And what's the reason behind that? Why do we do that, or why should we do that?
Why should we why should we be grateful, or why should we?
Forgive the people that we hold grudges towards.
Because it just tends to pile up inside of us. We get to the point where we just break and it affects everyone around us. So if every single day you just dump all those negative, all those fears, all that hate, all that hurts, your entire day just lines up on that right vibration. And when you're on that right vibration, everything just starts aligning with you. You're looking for good, you're going to find good. If you're looking for bad, negative vibration, what's going to happen? Everything's going to tank.
I love that, man. I love that. Absolutely love that. What's your business like today? What
So
what what's the business model? I know it's wholesaling, but can you talk to us specifically about how you're finding your deals and really like how the mechanics of your business specifically works?
yeah, so most wholesalers, that's my primary market. I work with acquisition wholesalers. Most wholesalers, when they're getting into the business, they struggle with underwriting deals. They struggle with looking at a property and figuring out how much rehab needs to be done on this. They struggle with that. And they also struggle with speaking on the phones. They struggle with negotiations. And this wholesale business specifically, is all marketing. It's all about building relationships, connecting with people. And so what I do is I help them guide through. I'm the guy that comes in and shows them, hey, look, this is where we need to be at. These are the comps that I pulled. This is the rehab that I believe could be done. Every person is different. I mean, I'm a general contractor, so I do talk about rehab a lot. However, us as wholesalers, we are in the marketing business. So if you ever send a deal out, you don't talk about rehab, because me having a family that's in the business is going to be cheaper for me. But if I had to outsource that to a general contractor or another crew, it might be double of what I can pay. So you never give rehab numbers out. So one thing I just do is just guide them. This is where I believe numbers lie at. This is where I believe we can sell it at. And I help just align that self-doubt on that property, that fear of, I don't know if I should put this under contract because of this. So that's what I do. And I work with acquisition wholesalers all day, and I do the dispo for them. Also, I take that contract once they get it under contract through the transaction coordination process and down to the end zone. Because here's the thing, there's 2 different sides of the business. There's the acquisition or the dispo side. And if you're a one-man show and you're focusing on acquisitions, what's happening is that you don't have a good pool of buyers. So, the cycle starts. You go and try to find buyers, but that funnel that you've been building and building is starting to dry up. And so it's tough to scale both. And it's super important to have a great acquisition team, because without acquisitions, I'm nothing. Without dispo, your deals aren't selling. And so it's a great thing to build a network, right? That's what I do. I leverage my network.
I love what you said about acquisitions versus dispositions, and like having a one person show and being in both roles. I did that myself. Like the first 2 years, I was doing acquisitions and I was doing dispositions, and I mean it worked. I mean we did deals, right? And there's nothing. Is it wrong to do that? I don't think personally, in my opinion, that it's wrong to do both, right? But then there's the question that you ask yourself, what do you want to focus on? Right? Because think about it. If you're an acquisitions wholesaler and you're also in charge of doing your own dispositions takes time. Dispositions is not easy, right? You can't just if you lock up a deal, just put it out to buyers and in 2 minutes you'll have it sold, or in a day you'll have it sold, right? That can happen sometimes, right? But sometimes it takes a whole week to get a deal sold, right? Sometimes your numbers are off. Sometimes these things happen, right? And I thought to myself, man, how many more deals could I have made off my time if I had just outsourced dispositions?
Yeah, and you
A
just
lot.
gotta leverage you gotta leverage the other person that's talking to buyers all day. That's all I do is I talk to buyers, I vet them. They know exactly that that I'm constantly bringing in deals to them, and they know where that I know my numbers. When you're an acquisition focused wholesaler, you're not spending your time building on a deep level a connection to buyers. So what are they going to do? They're either going to wait until your contract expires, which is very common.
Yeah.
And then the next week they'll call you up. Hey, is that property available? Because they already know your contract's probably going to be 7 to 10 days, 15 days, and you're going to cancel on it. And what do? They just go behind you and they lock it up. So having a good dispo that's going to be your gatekeeper.
Hmm.
They're going to bring you people that have actually done deals. You vetted them, look up all the deed of trusts, like done some deep research on them, and get 5, 10, $15,000 EMD wire straight to the closing attorney or title company is super important.
100%. 100%. So what does your team look like? Because I know you said you have multiple people that are running things for you. What are those roles that are in your company?
Yeah, so I have a dedicated underwriter. Helps me with any of the buy prices that comes in, any properties that come in that is already under contract and needing dispo. So that's what comes in through my website. Everything now is when I first started, I was missing deals because they were coming in through my Facebook Messenger under the second inbox, the messenger request, and I wouldn't see it for days. And then Instagram, and then LinkedIn. So I just funneled everything through my website. It goes into my CRM, and I have my first gatekeeper, which is my underwriter. So my underwriter vets it. I am the second look on it, the second pair of eyes. And I'm like, you know what? This looks good. Think we could dispo it. Or it allows me to be able to coach the acquisition wholesaler of where the numbers need to be. So I'm doing a lot of the relationship building. I'm the funnel, right? I'm building a pipeline of wholesalers that are actively on the phones and locking up contracts. So that's my role. I'm walking the acquisition wholesaler to my model. They bring the property into the website. Underwriting team takes a look at it. Once underwriting team says yes, we get an option to dispo it with the acquisition wholesaler, and then it goes to my dispo manager. My dispo manager does all the marketing. Actually, underwriting and dispo work very closely together when it comes to marketing. And I have two VAs. One VA is doing the cold call. The other VA is just building lists. Actually, I have three VAs now. And the third VA is also reaching out to agents. So I have a VA calling agents because they're great sources of dispo. I have a VA calling buyers directly, and I have a VA pulling the list, cleaning it up, making sure that all the information is aligned where it needs to be.
I love that. So your underwriter, are they doing like a full like underwriting of the deal, or are they just like soft vetting it before it gets sent to you?
They're soft vetting it first.
Mm.
And then I look at it, hey, is this an area there where I'm very confident in? And if I'm like, yeah, that's a really good area where I'm confident in, he will go and do the full underwriting.
Okay.
Right? And also we're looking at a different views. The problem with most acquisition wholesalers, they just look at it as a wholesale deal. There's deals that we just take down ourselves creatively just because the numbers don't make sense for a wholesale, but the seller's motivation is high enough that we can get it seller financed or subject to, depending on the situation. And there's also properties that are in really bad condition where it's a land play. And then we're seeing other properties nearby that are selling for $700,000-$800,000. It makes sense for us to pitch it to developers versus pitching it to rehabbers. And you just have to look at it through different lenses.
Okay.
So yeah, you always look at deals through different lenses. Therefore, you have to really determine the highest and best use of that property.
100%. 100%. And then so then it comes to you. I'm just like trying to like process this whole thing out in my head for the audience. So it comes to you right after your underwriter has looked at it, right? And then you get in contact with the wholesaler and you guys, talk about, what you and your underwriter have both, looked at with the deal, and you give them what your pitch for the deal should be, right? Like what you could offer for it, or what you could dispo it for, like who it's going to go to, that thing. And then you have a dedicated dispo person, right? Someone that
Yes.
does dispo. And
Yeah.
then so how are you guys doing that? And then where do your other VAs come into play? Because I know you said one calls. What are they calling for exactly?
Yeah. So once I bring them in, right? Once it goes into my team, my underwriter, my dispo work together. Dispo and myself work together just to make sure any last minute marketing needs to be made, or if I have some suggestions on which buyers I personally believe are going to be the best candidate for this property. So dispo and acquisition wholesaler now come together, right? I am out of the equation, working the funnel. So I'm only here as a backbone at this point. Once dispo kicks in. So my dispo and my TC work closely together. And the TC and myself also do a lot of coaching with each other just to know where we are at in the process and how we can propel forward.
I love that. And so then what are the consistent daily action that you guys do as a company to keep a consistent pipeline of deals?
Yeah. So role play every single day. We're doing about 45 minutes a day role playing every single day at 8:30 a.m. We are on our huddle that lasts about maybe 30 minutes. And then one time throughout the day, like right before 4 o'clock, we get together and we talk, hey, what happened today that has moved the business, or what are we struggling? What is our bottleneck for the day? And so we come up with a plan before the end of day, and then we'll talk about it first thing in the morning the next day.
Of that. And then as far as acquiring the deals, right? Because you guys are getting it from wholesalers. How are you guys building these relationships with wholesalers? Like, what's that first interaction usually like? And then what's the goal for you guys for it to develop into?
Yeah. So I'm offering like my second look, right? They have a property or a seller that is kind of hard to deal with. I'll offer to get on the phone with the seller. I'll offer to walk them through the steps. A lot of times it's just a matter of comping. I've been in the business going on 10 years, so comping is a very strong suit of mine, and I've already brought that into my underwriting team. So I have a solid underwriting team that's possibly better than myself when it comes to underwriting. So what I'm offering is just a handhold, right? Someone that's going to walk you from, hey, I have this opportunity, to a wire or a check at the end of the transaction.
Gotcha. And so how are you building? Because your goal with these wholesalers is for you to have a long-term relationship with them, for them to consistently bring you, all of their deals.
Yep.
Right? What do you think is the way, like if somebody were to want to do what you are doing currently with wholesale outreach and with dispo, how would you tell them to work with wholesalers, and like what value would you tell them to at least give out to start having those wholesale relationships really grow stronger?
So what I do to propel my business and get more deals is provide massive value. Why? How? Maybe I will send out in an email blast or on Facebook my offer template. Like, I'm breaking down what I'm doing daily, and I'm just turning it into a Loom, turning it into a Scribe, making a YouTube video on it, talking about the process, and just giving that out to people. And it's crazy because this business is super simple.
Yeah.
Not easy. It's simple. And people always ask me, oh, you're giving out too much information. How is that scalable? Because at the end of the day, only 5-10% of people actually look at that content. But what I notice is that's the 10% of people that I'm trying to look for. The same principles. 20% of people that are doing 80% of my business are the ones that are watching my videos. They understand exactly what I do. They already know my process, so it makes it so much easier when it comes to bringing them in.
All right. I love
So
that.
duplicating myself via YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, and just being extremely consistent on it and providing massive value.
And so then other than wholesalers, is there any other channel that you're bringing in deals from?
Yeah, so I am direct to seller on land. So I've been focusing myself on acquisitions. So with land, I don't really have a heavy dispo model. I leverage a heavy dispo when it comes to land. And most of the time with land, I'm leveraging agents, a land specific broker to sell my deals. My job, as far as the land is concerned, I'm looking personally to take down myself, maybe clear the lots, split it, and or make it level and re-putting it back on the MLS.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
And so why land? Why not houses? Why not something else?
Well, let me ask you something. When was the last time you've seen a show called Flip This Dirt?
Last week, actually. I'm just kidding.
Really?
I've not. I've not.
So most shows are selling sunset, $1 million listing. It's sexy, and it's reality TV. It brings a lot of emotions, and you kind of get, it's like a chick flick. I'll watch chick flick even if I'm not interested in, and you start seeing, wait, what did he say? Oh, he's in love with her brother. Like you start getting hooked
Yeah.
on it. So that's what traditional real estate does, right? There's so many different emotions, but with land, there's really isn't emotion to it, right? And my house, like in my kids' bedrooms, there's the lines from when they were getting, when they were growing and growing, and so that builds that builds like an emotion attached to it. But with dirt, there's no one's lived on it, and most of the time it's inherited. So it gives you more an opportunity just to have a real conversation. And as far as cold calling sellers, it's a lot different. It's, hey, my name is Jay. I just want to know if you'd be interested in selling that parcel of land that you have. With houses, everyone seems to be focusing on that niche, or it's not a niche anymore, that concept. And so there's so many seminars that teaches, get on the phone, cold call, talk to that seller, make an offer. And that's a great model, right? Conversations and offers. That's how I built my entire business. And with land, so statistics show that for every 2,000 investors, flippers, there's one or two land wholesalers or land investors. And so there's definitely a lot of potential for growth there. And then here's the thing, they're not making any more land. Right. And in my market, they're starting to tear down a lot of the old houses. And those wholesalers get intimidated by that because they don't understand how to comp the land. And it was super simple. It's just a matter of changing your mind to look at land as as its own asset class and how to leverage that. So.
Right. And so how are you finding the opportunities? I know you're going direct to seller, but talk to us more about like the marketing channel that you're using. And I guess who's manning that? Are you the one that's doing the actual closings
Yes.
on the phones with with the land buyers and sellers?
So, so I'll either do cold calls, I'll pull a tax delinquent list, or pull my favorite list would be a high equity absentee owner, most likely out of state or out of the county. And they've had a ping on, on the records as a tax delinquent within the last 3 years. And that's where I start out. And a lot of times it's a smaller list. So I'll also do mailers as well.
Okay. So it's mixture of cold calling and direct mail.
Yeah. So with direct mail on houses, because I was spending $10,000 a month to get one deal.
Yeah.
But in this business, that 1 out of every 2 deals actually close.
Right.
Sometimes 1 out of every 3 deals close.
Yeah.
So let's call it, let's say 10 to 20,000 that you spend to possibly get one deal. Here, you're only probably sending out 2 to 5,000 mailers to get 2 to 3 deals, maybe 4.
Really?
Yeah. Yeah. So there's definitely a lot of potential here. There's a lot of place for anyone to grow in this business.
And are the spreads on land deals just as good as on houses?
If not bigger.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Just because there's not that many people negotiating land deals on the phones. whereas everyone is so eager to give an offer, and with everyone cold calling and calling these sellers and sending direct mail, the spreads on the assignment fees or the profit margins tend to be a lot smaller just because of competition, supply and demand.
That makes a lot of sense. That makes a lot of sense. And then with the land, are you looking for a specific type of land in a specific market or like part of a market, or are you just doing like land anywhere, infill lots, rural lots, the whole thing?
Yeah, so infill lots is a big, heavy model of mine. However, we've also looked into subdividing and entitlements as well. But as far as what my market in North Carolina entails, a lot of it is infill lots.
Okay.
So lots that a developer can just go in, already has electricity to it, water or sewer, and you can just go ahead, get it under contract, and reassign it for your fee.
I love that.
Yeah, and land, it's scalable, because here's the thing: I don't have to send anyone out to the land to put a lockbox on it.
Mhm.
Right? With houses, I have to coordinate. Okay, I got to get my photographer, my realtor, I got to send out 5 or 6 general contractors, because I also look at it as for myself as a flip. So
Right.
I'm also getting estimates on the actual house. And with land, you don't have that. You have a good drone guy that's going to do your drone videography, and so it's really enticing to your buyers. But as far as the scalability, I can do this anywhere, especially with land.
Well, especially with land, right? Because there's
Especially,
no one's gonna call you up and say, "Hey, you got to come see it before you buy it."
no. Well, here's the thing: would you want to meet at a at a parcel of land to sign up a purchase and sale agreement?
No.
Probably not.
No.
No. You want to be outside and where the mosquitoes are at and sign a purchase and sale agreement, or just sign it through your email?
Yeah.
Houses is different, right? People think that you have to go there, take a look at it, do a walkthrough, and sign right at the kitchen table, because that's what sales has always told you. You have the kitchen is where the deals happen.
Yeah.
But if there's no kitchen, there's no need to go to the property to do the deal.
Right.
So that's why I really enjoy the land space, just because it's very scalable. There's less competition, so that with single family houses, I get a call on my phone, I got to pick it up. With land, you can get back to them. Right? Let's say you're going to the movies with your family and you're about to enter the movie and somebody calls you, "Hey, I need to sell my house." Guess who's watching the movie? And guess who's not? You are. So with land, just get back to them, right? Get back to them in a timely manner and make your offer. And that's why I believe that, especially me as a father of 5, I believe that land is just more scalable, is less of a headache. There's headaches in every business, but there is definitely less emotion attached to that.
I'm curious. You're a father of 5, right? I know that you are a devout husband as well, and you're running a business. How do you manage your time?
So that's why I have a team in place. Time is always going to be something that you kind of have to teeter-totter and just figure out how can you reduce the amount of stuff that you're doing. Because when people say they're busy, what that possibly means is that they're adding more stuff to their pipeline in order to make up for the stuff they should be doing.
I find myself doing that a lot. I'm single. I don't have kids, right? I'm just full-time real estate, full-time building the business, right? Which is great, but I find myself sometimes just like after my day is done thinking like, man, should I really have spent an hour doing that? Was that really necessary, or could I have just called it there and still been just as efficient?
Yeah, one thing you got to do is look at what you're doing daily and audit it. And you'll
Yeah.
notice that 80% of your day was wasted on stuff that you thought was producing money, and in reality, it wasn't.
Have you ever read the book Clockwork?
I have not. But
It's
is
by,
it?
have you read Profit First?
Yes.
So it's by the same author that wrote Profit First, Mike McCallowicz. And it's Clockwork is essentially it's like a buy back your time essentially, but like it's his version. Talking about like how to like delegate and to really take yourself out of that and just buy back more of your time in your business. And he has this exercise that he has you do. I love this author because just like, you read Profit First, it gives you actionable items to do as you're reading it. So that's why I love it. But he gives you an exercise to do where he tells you to get a whole bunch of sticky notes and just put them all over your desk and write down like all the things that you're doing in your business, right? So if you're doing a wholesale business, you can say sales calls, right? Closing deals, dispositions, transaction coordination, driving to appointments, right? All of these things, right, that you do actively in your business that take up time. And then he said, one by one, start to take off the least important one, right? So you can take off, driving to appointments, right? Whatever one is least important to you, the one that will keep your business alive if you don't do it.
Yeah.
And eventually you do that until you come to like 2 or 3, right? And then it becomes really hard, right? Which one are you going to take off? And then you take off one, you still have 2 left. You take off that last one, that second to last one, and you're left with one more. And that's the one thing, that's your queen bee activity, as he calls it in his book, to where like that is what you should be focusing on. The rest of it should have a plan to be delegated to, and to have systems in place to where it doesn't require you to do it.
Love that. Yeah. And here's the thing, when we have a deadline, it's funny how everything happens when there's a deadline. Last few hours, everything, you knock out everything. Fridays, people with W-2s, they knock it out quick just to get everything done, right?
Yeah.
Why don't we do the same thing for our business?
Yeah. Well, yeah, there's a difference how you handle something that's urgent versus important, right? Effective people handle what's important now as urgent. They don't even make something urgent, right? Because then they're just all over the place. They're canceling important meetings. They're canceling important time that they should have been spent doing other things that they should have been doing, right? Just to take care of this urgent matter that they've, quite frankly, procrastinated on, right? And I'm not saying this because I'm perfect at doing this. I'll be the first person to say, I am not perfect at doing this. I am a self-diagnosed workaholic, right? I just love the work. I just love the action. It's like dopamine in my head, right? It's just something that, I am aware of, and I'm trying. I mean, I have my own team, right? Like we have systems in place, right? We're building a real company here, but it's always good to just look back and be like, you know what? I know what my role is as a business owner. I know what the end game, like what my queen bee activity is going to be. The rest, sure, I can't give it up now. I can't give it up this week, but I need to understand that this is going to be something that I need to delegate. And I need to start today. And this is a huge thing that I've recently have put it upon myself to really get into habit of doing, recording and documenting what I'm doing. That way, one day it can be passed on to somebody, right? And update those recordings, those documents, right? Those SOPs on a regular basis, right? Monthly, right? Look back, so okay, what's changed or what needs to be added, and revamp it. That's been something that I told you before we got on the meeting, that I did my own quarterly for the quarter, right? Just planning and strategizing for what the quarter is going to look like for me. And that was a big thing, was updating SOPs regularly, right? Because you can't just eat them and forget them, right? I mean, you got to constantly be looking at them and revamping them. And as you're growing, as you're building, things are going to change. Things are going to be added or taken away from, or just changed, tweaked. So it's always, I've made it now a habit to always look at it on a monthly basis and just make sure that everything, I get my software update, right? My company gets a software update every month, which is how I like to think about it.
Yeah, we update our phones, I think monthly now, right? Like
Yeah.
there's always an update. Why aren't we doing the same thing for our business? If it stays the same as you were doing it 2 years ago, you're going to stay the same, right? Continue. I like that software update for your business.
Yeah.
Use that.
I thought about it yesterday. So obviously, you're super loud online, right? People see you, giving value in ways that you don't really see a lot of people doing it. right? And a lot of it comes from just from the outside looking in, right? I see you as a very extroverted person, or someone that has the ability to be very extroverted, and not afraid to talk to people, right? Like if me and you went to if me and you were in college and we saw each other at a frat party, I know you're the guy that's dapping everybody up and you're the one that's creating conversations, and you're that guy in the room at the party, right? But there's other people that are, let's just say they're more introverted, or they have more of a habit of being introverted, right? Because those are just labels we put on ourselves, right? They have the habit of being introverted, and they don't really feel confident in starting a lot of like conversations with people that they don't know, strangers. But they have this vision, they have this drive to be in wholesale, which is a sales and marketing business at the end of the day, right? It requires that extroverted energy. What's your advice for somebody that's like that needs to build that skill?
So if you were to ask my wife, she would tell you that Jay is the most introverted person you'll ever meet. So I am an introvert. I am a very big introvert. However, one of my goals that I write every single day is that I am going to be the guy, the authority in your business, in this business. I am going to be loud, and I'm going to be successful because of what I'm doing. Being loud, telling everyone what I do. So I'll give you an example. I went to the Squad Up Summit in Florida, a big meeting where Sub 2 and Astro Flippers meet together. And that day that I got there, I didn't write my goals down, and I didn't tell myself the positive affirmations. And it's because I think we arrived at midnight to the resort, and then 8 o'clock, everything started. So I woke up late. I didn't tell myself exactly, the affirmations that I tell myself every single day. The moment I did that, well, I was drained. I didn't want to talk to anyone. I didn't even want to know anyone existed. So
Yeah.
it's the best solution for an introverted life is telling yourself, I'm grateful for the fact that I just brought 10 people into my business. I'm grateful that someone just called me about a deal. I'm grateful that I just closed 10 deals this month. You don't have to have personally closed those 10 deals, but those, as long as you're propelling those affirmations to you and you provide a massive imperfect action, it's going to happen. So as far as being loud, what's the cost? For the same amount of time that I'm spending on social media, it would cost me maybe $50,000 in marketing to get the same reward.
Yeah.
And I don't like spending $50,000 in marketing. I like spending as close to this number as possible and just tell everybody what I do. Everyone. People are so scared. Oh, what if my friends judge me? Who cares? They're not the 20% that's going to give you 80% of your income. Be loud.
My dad always told me, what have other people's opinions about you done for you? Nothing positive, right? It's not putting money in your pocket.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
everyone's got an opinion.
Yeah. I love that. So your wife claims that you're an introvert, right? I'm saying the total opposite, just from knowing you from a business level and also a personal level. So what that tells me is that, and you just already said it as well, is that you just tell yourself to be the guy, to be loud, to do the things that show enthusiasm and show confidence, and then you just go and do them.
Go and do them.
What if I'm scared?
Well, here's the thing. If you're scared, someone like Jay Mora, who's also an introvert, is going to do the same thing
Yeah,
and get that deal that you could have earned yourself.
kicking the ass.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Like what's the alternative? Someone else is going to come into your territory, come into your sphere and take what you deserve?
yeah.
That's the alternative.
I love that. I love that. So what are your goals for this year, man? I know you're crushing it this year, man. You're doing really, really well. And I love just everything that you're putting out into social media and just into all of the communities that we're a part of. What's a goal that you have for yourself this year?
Take a vacation. My last vacation was COVID. I had COVID for 5 days. and RSV at the same time with my daughter. And so I had not had an opportunity to take time for myself. I was in my building phase. I want to be in a phase where I can take that week off, take the 2 weeks off, take the month off.
Why not?
Yeah, this business can be done anywhere. I've already proven to myself and my family that I am doing this in a home office in Maryland, where the deals are all happening in North Carolina. So why not just do the same thing? Just use the passport to leverage and go do it somewhere else. So definitely take a vacation. Take more time for myself, more time to be the father that my kids deserve me to be, and the husband that my wife deserves me to be as well.
Love that. I love that. If you were to go back in time, let's just say to last March, right, when you started wholesaling, and you can talk to the Jay at that time and tell him anything, right? Just when you're first getting started, what would you tell him?
You will never be prepared. No two deals are the same, and I've proven that in my business. No two deals are the same. No two deals have the same exact paperwork, same exact process. They're always a little bit different. So then why focus on perfecting the process? The only way to perfect the process or to get deals is to do imperfect action. Just do it. And that's, just like when I had my first kid, I wasn't prepared, but it happened and I learned how to figure it out. And now we got 5. And even with the 5th one, we still didn't know. We were just like, all right, let's just do it. It is what it is.
I love that. And that was gonna be my last question actually, but I have to ask this question just because I would say I'll be vulnerable and say this is something that I guess I personally struggle with as in business. How do you take that mindset, right? Take what you just said and put it into the people in your company.
Yeah. So
Without everything falling to the ground.
repeat that question one more time.
Without everything falling to the ground.
Well, you won't know until you actually try it. And that's the unfortunate thing. I had a team in the past with completely different people and I had to revamp it. It's just a matter of trial and error and just practicing and practicing. And there's going to be bottlenecks that come about every single time that you implement something new. Every single time there's a software update. What happens maybe a couple days later? Oh, there's a bug. Fix the bug, right? And so the same thing, just continue to give yourself that software update. And if that update is not working, you either have to eliminate what's happening with a new software update, whether that be people in your team, whether sometimes it's just taking time for yourself and talk to yourself and meditate and breathe. And it's all a matter of just propelling forward to a reason. The reason, why did you start doing this? Go, 7 to 10 levels deep of why you're doing what you're doing. So, and your team has to be on the same page as well. Everybody has to be aligned with the culture on the same vibration.
Love that. I love that. Thank you for that, man. Any last words? Where can people find you?
So any last words? You don't need to know it all. We get stuck in watching 3 to 5 hour YouTube videos, and we always have to watch that next video. Oh, read that next book because we think that we're going to be successful because of it. No, you're just adding another step, being busy when you should be doing the 20% of the stuff that causes 80% of your income. And the way you can find me is go on my Instagram, my YouTube page, or my Facebook, and all throughout is it's Jay Mora in all of them. All deals go to morahomesolutions.com.
So all North Carolina deals, send them into morahomesolutions.com.
Yeah, morahomesolutions.com. North Carolina, we're one of the strongest dispos in North Carolina. I personally believe. So my main markets in North Carolina are the Triad, which is the Greensboro, Winston-Salem, High Point, Raleigh-Durham, which is Wake County, Durham County, as well as Fayetteville. Charlotte is a big market of ours, and Asheville. But throughout the entire state, we've done a deal in every major city there.
Love it. Love it. Jay, it was an absolute pleasure having you, man. I had a lot of fun doing this. Truthfully, it was amazing having this conversation with you, and I hope the audience enjoys it half as much as I did. So,
It
uh,
was like
thank you, I appreciate that, guys. This is the Real Tales podcast. We'll see you next time. Bye.